Good morning, students. Good morning to all. Last class we have studied about some of the methods of economics, right? Have you remember? Okay, I gave the study portion also is same only. Just I am reminding now some of the economics and some of the methods of economics. So, like any other science, the economics also has its laws or generalizations. Okay. So, what are the science are existing in our subject? So, like other science, the economics also has its laws, different type of the laws and some of the generalizations. This laws governs the activities in the various divisions of economics, such as consumption, production, exchange, and distributions. Okay, so the law of consumption, law of demand, the law of production, and the production productivity power. Okay, and the wages of consumption. So many types of the generalizations and some of the laws are there. Okay, for analyzing these laws and generalizations, so in economics we are using the two types of methods. Okay, first one is deductive method and inductive method. So last day also we have studied something about the deductive method. Okay, for analyzing the economics laws and generalizations, we are using deductive method and inductive method. But in this deductive method, it consists in deriving conclusion from general truths. If you want to deriving any of the conclusions about the economics laws or generalizations, so if you have to derive the conclusion from the general truth only. Okay, for example, the law of demand. So in this law of demand, whenever the price of the commodities increase, so the price of the commodities increase, so the demand will be increase. Otherwise, the demand, whenever the demand is increased, the price also will be increased, but in the same time the supply will be decrease. Okay, so the demand of commodity is increased, the price of that commodities also will be increased. But if the price of the commodities increase at first, so the demand for the commodities will be decrease. Okay, so some of the inverse relationships are there. Okay, for analyzing this demand law, so we had to take many data, and the data also will be conclude from the general truth only. For analyzing the data in this deductive method, so we have to take some of the steps. So what are the steps are there? First, the analyst must have a clear and precise idea of the problem. Okay, so when you want to analyze about any of the problem, so the analyst must have a clear and precise idea in which method, what are the methods we are going to use, what are the tools we are going to apply, and so the core point of the problem is must be precise and held by the analyst. Next, the analyst clearly defines the technique terms. Okay, so what are the techniques is used to analyzing the economic problem? These tools or the techniques must be clearly defined. Okay, then only the other readers and other economists can easily understand. Okay, so without define the technical terms, if he is analyzed any of the problem, so others unable to read and understand about the problems, and because of that they won't accept it, right? Next, deduce hypothesis from the assumptions. But the analyst have to create some of the hypothesis from the assumptions. Assumption means some of the circumstances. Okay, so by having some of the data and some of the assumption, the analyst must be creating the hypothesis. Okay, suppose if there is the cloud of there is the gathering of cloud, so we can assuming so the rain will come or not. Okay, like that we have to analyze. Okay, otherwise if there is more demand will come in this future, So the analyst must be predict so the price of the commodity will be increase or not. Next, hypothesis should be verified. Okay, so after creating the hypothesis must be verified. Okay, after verified the hypothesis only, so we can issues as the law, and we can issues about the reason of the problems and the solution of the problems. Okay, and next one is inductive method. So this inductive method also called as empirical method. Okay, so some of the historical school of economists was adopted this inductive method for analyzing any of the economic problems and economics laws. Okay, so it involves the process of reasoning from the particular facts to general principle. From the particular facts to general principle. But in this deductive method, so it is deriving the conclusion from the general truth. Okay, but here it involves the processing of reasoning from particular facts to general principle. Okay, so the reasons or some of the conclusions will be derived from the particular facts only. Okay, so for the purpose of analyzing the economics problems by the way of inductive method, so we have to take the three concepts. First one is experimentation, next one is observation, and using the statistical method. Okay, so by the way of experimentations, we can clarify about the problem of economics and the observations. So when we are observing the day by day economic activities and the human activities and the human beings, we can bringing or we can take or we can come to the conclusions of the problems. Next, statistical method. By using the statistical method for the purpose of making the population, calculating the populations, so we must using the statistical method. Okay. Next, steps of inductive method. Steps of inductive method. For the purpose of analyzing the economic problem by using the inductive method, also we have to concerning the 4 steps. First, data are collected about a certain economic phenomenon. Okay, data are collected about a certain economic phenomenon. So we have to collect all the data about the economic phenomenon. Economic phenomenon means so the market. So the price determination of the market in this different kind of the market. Otherwise, the demand for the foods in this future. The demand for the food is one of the problem in our futures. Okay, so if you want to increasing the food production in our future on the basis of increasing the population, so we have to collect about the increasing population. Okay, or the amount of increasing populations, then only we can increasing the food production in the futures. Okay, so without having the economic phenomenon, so we cannot come to the conclusions of the problems. Okay, next, by observing the data, conclusions are easily drawn. By observing the data, so when we are observing the data as very clearly, we can easily draw the conclusions. Okay, suppose on the basis of observing the populations, so if you predict, so in future or in next 10 years, so the populations will not be increased, and this existing amount of food production only is enough mean we won't and we will not ready to producing any more commodity. Okay, so for the purpose of come to the conclusion, we must observing the data. Okay, and how many people, ladies are there, how many females are there, how many childs are there, everything will be observed by the analyst. Okay, when we are observing the data very clearly and keenly, we can easily come to the conclusions. Next, generalization of the data and the hypothesis formulations. Next, we must generalize the collecting data and formulating the hypothesis. Okay, by generalize the data, okay, already we have collected the data on the basis of different kinds. Okay, the male, female, educated and uneducated, rich and poor. Okay, on the basis of occupations, we have collecting the different type of the data. Okay, so all the different type of the collected data must be generalized, and the formulas, the hypothesis also will be formulated. Okay, so because of generalizing the data, we can formulate the hypothesis as very clearly. Okay, suppose in this on the basis of generalizing the data, we can easily formulate the hypothesis. Next one is verification the hypothesis. Okay, so even in these two method, the hypothesis must be verified. Okay, so here also first we have to collect the data about some of the economic problems. Next, so all the collected data must be observing, and conclusions also will be easy for that. Next, all the collected data must be generalized, and because of that it will be easy to formulate the hypothesis. And last one is verified the hypothesis. And next, the economic facts and theories. Okay, in economics, different type of the theories will come, and some of the facts also will be formulated by the economist. Okay, so using this method, the economist observe the facts such as change in the price of a commodity. Okay, for the purpose of changes in the commodity. Okay, for the purpose of finding out the changes in the prices of commodities, we must collect some of the facts, and we must know about some of the theories. Okay, so on the basis of theories only we can collect and we can understand the laws and theories. So like that, the quantity amount of the demand, the quantity amount of the demand also will be differ on the basis of increasing the changes of price of commodities. Okay, so whenever the price of the commodity is increasing, so the demand for the commodity also will be varied. Okay, this is also one of the theories. So the law of the theory of demand, or the law of demand. So what are the facts are universally accepting? These facts only will be considered as a law, universally law, the status of the law. And next, the nature of economic laws. Different type of the laws are there, or many laws are existing in our subject of economics, right? So a law expresses a causal relationship between two or more than two phenomena. Okay, for the purpose of if you are taking the law of demand, so the law of demand will conclude by different type of the economic phenomenon. Economic phenomenon means, so the increasing price of commodity is created by different kind of the causes. Okay, so we must analyze all the causes. So after analyzing all the causes only, we can bringing the reasons for the increasing price of commodities. Okay, for similar normally, so the price of the commodities will not be increasing by have only one reasons. Okay, so there are many more reasons will be there to accepting or fixing the high price of that commodities. So the Marshall states that the economic laws are statement of tendencies. Okay, so we cannot consider the economics law as a other science of law. Okay, but if you are taking the other laws in science, we can accept the rules and regulations as it is. Okay, but in economics, some of the exceptions are there. Some of the exceptions mean, for example, if you are taking the law of demand, so one of the exceptions is there, that is other things being equal. Okay, other things being equal, and whenever some of the other reasons are changed, on the basis of changing only, the price of the commodity will be increased. Okay, so when there is some of the exceptions are there, we cannot accept this law as a definitely one or the accurately one. And in natural science, a definite result is expected to follow from a particular cause. Okay, for example, in this nature of science, the law of Newton. So the result of the law of Newton is unable to change. It will never change. So according to the law, if it is throw a stone in the sky, so it will come back to the earth only, so it will never change. But in this economics, not like that. Okay, some of the demand will be changed on the basis of time, on the basis of political situations, and on the basis of human activity. Okay, so this law of economics will never be equal to the law of science. And finally, so we can say the economics laws are not as precise and certain as the laws in the physical science. So Marshall hold the opinion that there are no laws of economics which can be compared for precision with the law of gravitation. Okay, as I told at last, so it is the definitely one. Okay, so the economics laws will not be equal as a laws of science. Okay, students, then next we will study about some of the subdivisions of economics. Okay, subdivisions of economics means without the subdivisions the economics will not complete. Okay, so we can say this some of the factors as a subdivisions of economics. Okay, so in the subdivisions of economics, first one of the factor is consumption. So human wants coming under the consumption, and the human wants is the starting point of the economic activity. So already I told in the first day itself, so the economic activity will be undertaken on the basis of the starting point of human wants. Okay, so already I told and explained, so the human wants only will be leaded to the efforts to occupy the commodities, and on the basis of the effort only they will get that commodities to consuming. Okay, then again the new wants will be arised. Okay, so the human wants to consuming union of the commodities only is the basic or starting point of all the economic activity. Okay, if there is no human wants to consuming union of the commodities, there is no need to producing the commodities. Okay, so on the basis of providing the satisfaction of consuming commodities arised by the human mind only will be lead to arising the economic activity, right? So in this chapter, so we will study about the human activity and the characteristics of human wants and the diminishing marginal utility and the consumer surplus. Everything will be considered. Okay, we will study the human activities and some of the human behavior will be going to study. Next, production. So production is the process of transformation of inputs into outputs. Normally, if you want to understand clearly or easily, so the production is the process of transformation of inputs and into outputs. In transformation of inputs into outputs mean, so the producer will using or the producer must know how to make one of the finished product by using the inputs or the raw materials. Okay, already I told the furnitures are there mean for producing, for making the finished furnitures, we must have the raw materials and we must know how to assigning the or how to convert the raw materials into the finished product. Okay, so the production is the process of transformation of inputs into the outputs. Okay, by having the raw materials, if entrepreneurs knows to make as a finished product, this process is called as a production, right? Next, exchange. The exchange is concerned with the price determinations in the different market forms. Okay, so the produced commodities must be exchanged to the hands of the consumers. Okay, and when the commodities after reaching this market, the price will be determined. Okay, so the prices also will be determined in the different market forms and the different ways. Okay, so in this local market the price will be varies, and in this international market the price will be different. Okay, so the price determination also will be different in this different kind of markets. Okay, so on the basis of exchange only, so how much amount of money as required to exchange the commodity from the place of producer to place of consumers. Okay, if there is more amount required to exchange the goods from one place to another of the places, the price also will be higher. Okay, so like that the price also will be determinations in the different market forms. So these divisions will cover the commerce, trade, and consumption, and the channel of distributions, and the produced commodities placed in the hands of the consumers. Okay, so how the product is exchanged from one place to another one of the places. Next one is distribution. So the production is the result of the coordination of factor of production. Okay, production is the result of the coordination of factor of productions mean. So for the purpose of producing any of the commodities, so the producers must be assigning the factor of production, and the producer must be coordinate the factor of production. So factor of production is land, labor, capital, and organizations. Okay, so when we are assigning, when we are coordinate this factor of production as a proper way or the equal way only, we can produce any of the commodities as efficient way. Okay, so and not only that, the distribution studies about the pricing of factor of production. Okay, so for the purpose of producing the factor of production, so the producers providing the remunerations for their factor of production in the form of wage, rent, profit, and organizations. Okay, so the rent, wage, profit, and interest according to the land, labor, capital, organizations. Okay, so how to distribute the national income, or how to distributing the income for their factor of productions. Okay, so this division, the distributions studies about the pricing of factor of productions. Okay, in which form they will get the remunerations. For that, different type of the laws and theories are there. Okay students, next some type of the economics. So already I told in this first class itself, so in this economic subject different type of the economics are there. So we will study about the types of economics. First one is the microeconomics. As I studied in this first day, so the microeconomics is the study of the economic action of individual units. It is called the household, firms, and industries. Okay, so if you want to study about the economic actions of individual units, so the economic actions of household and the single firms and the single industries, it is called as a microeconomics. Okay, and it studies how business firms operate under the different market conditions. Okay, so the how business firms operate under the different kinds of market. Okay, different kinds of market means, so the monopoly market, the perfect competition market, and perfect market competitions, duopoly, oligopoly, the different kinds of the markets are there. Okay, so in the under the different kinds of the market, how the business activity will be operate is studied by the microeconomics only. Okay, and it is studied about how the combined action of buyers and sellers determine the prices. Okay, so the microeconomics also deals how the combined actions of buyers and sellers determine the prices. Normally the prices will be determined on the basis of demand and supply only. Okay, so otherwise the buyer and seller, the activity of the buyer and seller only will be determined the price. Okay, so the price determinations also will be studied by the buyer and seller. So the buyer, the studies of the buyer activity of buyer and seller is explained by the microeconomics only. Next, macroeconomics. So macroeconomics is the opposite of the microeconomics. It is concerned with the economy as a whole. So we have studied, the single unit of the society, the household, and the firms and industries. Suppose if you have studied about the whole industry or the whole industrial sector, it is considered as a macroeconomics. and it is the study of aggregates such as national output, inflation, unemployment, and taxations. Okay, so whenever the national income is increased or whenever the national income is measured by the way of calculating the income from the all micro units of industries. Okay, and the employment level. Okay, the employment level only will be determined the national income also. Okay, so the general theory of employment, interest, and money is the basis of modern macroeconomics. Okay, student, today I think it's enough. So tomorrow we will study as very clearly the remaining types of economics. So today's study portion is just study the subdivisions of economics. So the production, consumption, exchange, and the distributions. It's very easy only. So in this area, if you have any doubt, please ask me.